Homespun House podcast. I'm Molly, and thank you so much for spending some time with me today. You can probably hear the birds in the background because I have the windows all open, just like most days when I'm recording, but it's a bit louder today. I wanted to open up today talking about some of my favorite podcasts because it has been a kind of a topic that's been talked about a little bit in our podcast group on Ravelry. I like a lot of different podcasts, but there are certain podcasts that I am particularly very much into. My favorite podcasts at the moment are In a Snit. I adore this podcast. It's a bi-weekly podcast, and it's one that I am always waiting for. I wish that Chris and Sarah did it every week. But they do it bi-weekly, which is fine by me. They're both such completely different personalities, but they pair really nicely together. And I'm pretty sure they live in Illinois. So they live right next to Wisconsin, which is where I'm from. And it's just really nice. I really, really love their podcast. I love their enabling. Sarah's enabling, actually. Chris is enabling often, but Sarah, you know what I'm talking about. Sarah's always getting new project bags, new yarn, which is so much fun. It's so much fun watching all of the different things that she's purchasing, and she's been learning how to spin, which has been fun watching her journey. So it's not purely a knitting podcast. They talk about their spinning as well. And I love Chris's personality. I think Chris has she's really real. I think she's just such a real person, and she's so fun to watch, and her input on things is always really interesting, and I just like Chris and Sarah a lot. I think their podcast is really fun. They started podcasting the same time I started podcasting, so it's kind of fun to have someone who's podcasting along with you in a sense. The next one that I really love is Yarngasm with Kristen. She's been podcasting for a really long time, and I always love what she's knitting. I really love what she's knitting. She's always using the nicest yarns. She's always choosing amazing, she's always pairing things so nicely together, whether it's yarns, patterns, and colorways. She's always, in my opinion, spot on with her ideas and things that she's choosing. She has her own Etsy store, Wollenwein Yarns. I would love to get my hands on some of this yarn. This is the problem with all of these American yarns. Shipping overseas is just basically half the price of the yarn, which is just kind of killer. But I'm pretty sure Wollenwein yarn will be in my hands at some point this year. I love her color theory. I love the way she colors her yarn. Everything that she does, I really enjoy. There are a lot of shops where I like this skein or this skein, but I don't love everything. And Wollenwein is maybe one of the only yarn shops that when I go online, I love everything in her shop. It's really inspiring. She's really inspiring. It's just fun. Her podcast is really fun, and she as well. She's very real. She's not over the top, extravagant. She just has a really real, personable personality, and I really enjoy watching her. A new one that I've started watching just within the past couple of days, I think maybe the past week or so, is the Bakery Bears. And I don't mean to be mean, but the name of this totally threw me off. Bakery Bears. I just thought, I don't know if that sounds like a podcast that I really want to listen to. Why? I don't know. But I had heard Diane of the Knittables. She's 100% what got me into podcasting, I think. But I'm not going to talk about her because I'm sure all of you know of her. But I love her, and I love her podcast. Anyway, she's talked about the Bakery Bears podcast, and I heard her talk about it, and I never went and checked it out until I've just been, as well, in a slump with my podcasts. I would like to have more to watch. I'm really into video podcasts. I used to listen to only audio podcasts, but now as I've become a video podcaster, I've just really been into watching video podcasts. I've tried a lot of them, and there are a lot that I don't particularly like. Not that I don't like them, I guess I just can't get into them and get into the personalities of a lot of podcasters. But I really, really liked the Bakery Bears, and I don't even know why I gave it a chance. I think it's just because I was feeling I wanted something fun to watch while I was knitting, and I had already watched my knitting podcasts that I watch. And I thought, why not? I will just give them a chance. They added me to their podcast group on Ravelry. They invited me, so I watched the first one. Kay and Dan are... I love this podcast, you guys. If you haven't seen the podcast, you need to go and see it. Their personalities are just... The chemistry between the two of them is so wonderful. Dan is so funny. I think he's really funny. He's strange and weird, but in the most awesome way, because I love strange and weird personalities. It's what I'm drawn to, and Kay is just she's so sweet, and she's really funny as well, and I love how she giggles at Dan, and I love how they really just play off of each other's personalities. And Dan, they're married. Dan is her husband, and he knits as well, and he's learning to knit. He's on the knitting journey, I guess, and it's just so fun. It's always nice to see two people co-hosting together, I think. I like solo podcasts, but I also, it's a really different sort of experience to watch two people podcasting together. And I really love the Bakery Bears podcast. I don't know if the name has thrown you off as well, but don't let it. Kay as well, she designs these bears, the Bryony Bear, which is named after her daughter. She talks about it in the first podcast. And I was gifted this pattern. You know who you are. Thank you so much. The funniest thing is I have been... Since I started watching, I had been wondering if I should purchase the pattern, because I really like it as well, and I think it's such a fun pattern. And Kay talks about how a lot of people mention that the bear, I think it's the most nicely constructed bear pattern I've ever seen. And she's knit so many of them. You can accessorize them, and it's so fun looking, and it looks like something that Elodie would love. And I know this will be a pattern that I will cast on soon, so... Kay, Dan, thank you so much for your amazing podcast. Kay, thank you so much for putting out this amazing pattern, and thank you to you, my viewer, for gifting me the pattern. I'm excited to cast it on. I'm excited to knit some as gifts. I'm excited to give one to Elodie. We'll see how I feel when I make the first pattern. You guys will watch and see if I like it. So those are 3 podcasts that I'm really loving. Knittables, as always, but because Diane doesn't really have a podcasting schedule, obviously that hasn't been one of the main ones that I've been watching. But I love and am so excited whenever she puts up a new podcast. So, Molly, as Dan would say, what's on your needles? If you guys haven't seen the Bakery Bears podcast, you have no idea what I'm talking about. But Dan, I love this. It's totally like a game show, and I laugh every time you do it. I have my grandpa's socks. I'm calling these grandpa's warm feet socks. And I'm knitting these with Patton's Croy sock yarn in the rag shades. This doesn't really have, it's Gray Brown Marl is what it's called. And I have one done. I called my grandpa yesterday. And, well, first I had talked with my mom, and she told me that my grandpa had an American, size 11, 11 and a half foot, but I was right at the toe, or what I thought would be the toe, and I was ready to start doing my decreases. So I thought, I do not want to close this up and be wrong about this sock. I better call my grandpa. And so I called my grandpa, and we had a really wonderful conversation. Often when I'm calling my grandparents' house, I'm calling to talk to my grandma. So it was really nice to just call and just talk to my grandpa. It happens sometimes when my grandma isn't home. Maybe we just happen to have a conversation on the phone, but this time we talked for a while, and it was so nice. We talked about our family, about his parents, a little bit about his childhood. It was just fun because I don't know so much about my grandpa and about his childhood and about his family, and just to spend a little bit of time to call and talk about some things for the purpose of figuring out his size of foot was really nice, and made me want to call him more often because he is such a fun person to talk to. So it turned out that his foot is a size 12. Thank God I did not start making the decreases and close up the toe. I mean, obviously I could have ripped it back, but that would have been a bit obnoxious. Which a size 12 is about 31 centimeters long for the foot. So here it is. As always, it looks massive. And one is finished, and he sounded pretty excited to be getting this pair, and I'm so excited to be gifting them to him. It's so fun to give someone who appreciates. I feel like I know he will appreciate the pair of socks, maybe more than Robert does. I don't know. But I know he will appreciate them. I really, really know this, and it makes me excited to be gifting these socks to him. So that one is finished, and I've cast the second one on. So I just have, I think, 5 rows of ribbing. That's it. I'm using my Carbons double points, 2.5 millimeter. I love these. You guys know. I've been watching. I know Kristen from Full and Vine or the Yarngasm podcast just purchased a pair, and she said that she thought that they were a little bit heavy. I'm curious, Kristen. I'm curious to see your next episode and hear what you think once you've knit on them a bit. I wanted to show you this last time, but my grandma made this. Often on my project bags, I'll put a little pin. I guess it's normally something that my grandma's made, but she made this one. Isn't it adorable? It's a little wooden sheep, and she just stained it and then painted the black and then the little red heart. And then she gave me a bunch of these wooden sheeps unstained and unpainted. So I thought maybe for my handcraft along, maybe I paint a couple of sheep. How quick of a project would that be? And then put a pin on the back. Super sweet. So there's that with one of my project bags. I've been getting quite a bit of questions about my project bags and where in the world they are. Since my last purchase, I haven't been really working on any project bags. I've been so up to my neck in work and obviously my family that I just haven't really had time, which has been a bit sad, but I'm hoping that in August I have a bit of holiday time. I'm hoping that I find some time and I can find some way to keep my store going. I don't think it'll be on Etsy anymore, but I'll keep you updated as that goes. You can always request a custom order through Ravelry if you really want a project bag. Yes, so those are my grandfather's warm feet socks. The next thing that I have been working on, as always, is my Cozy Memories blanket. I knit 4 squares on this week, and again, something that I've been wanting to mention every podcast, but it somehow seems to slip my mind. Okay, so wait. So I knit this one, this one, this one, which is the Knit Pick Stroll. I have 2 squares on here of Knit Pick Stroll. It is the most strange feeling yarn, but yet I somehow love it. It's so soft, but in the weirdest way. It's just a merino nylon blend, but something about it feels cottony. It's very strange. I've never felt or experienced a sock yarn like this before, and I really love the way they dye up their yarn. And then there's this one. So those are the 4 that I knit. But back to what I was starting to say is that Elodie is obsessed with this blanket. She loves this blanket. I always have it next to the sofa on my little end table. Yeah, it's just a little end table. It's really pretty. And I always have it sitting there in my bag that I made, which I love. This was my Christmas themed bag that I made for myself. And it's always just hanging out of there when I'm not working on it. But Elodie, in between squares, is always playing with it. She has this white bear that she sleeps with. She cannot sleep without it. And she's always, during the day, it's so sweet. During the day, she's always bringing in this little pink basket that I use to, once my clothes are finished washing, I hang all of my clothes. I don't dry them in a dryer. So once my clothes are all finished, I put them into this pink basket and then I hang them. And when the basket is empty, when I'm finished doing a load, she takes the basket into the living room, and then she grabs this blanket, and she has a little chair that she sits in, and she wraps the bear in the Cozy Memories blanket, and then she'll read a book and sit next to the bear, and she can do this for hours. It's really crazy and adorable. And she'll take the bear out of the basket, rewrap him, put him back in, shake out the basket because she says it's wet, the blanket. So she'll shake it out, and sometimes if I really want to work on the Cozy Memories blanket, it's a struggle to get it away from her. But it's sweet. It's so sweet. There was a time when I wondered if I would be able to keep it for myself, or if I would just say, keep this one, Elodie, I start a new one. But she's able to part with it, and she enjoys seeing it grow, and she enjoys seeing the new squares on it, so it's fun. It's so sweet. I love that she loves it so much. It's nice that I'm knitting all of these fun memories into this blanket, and there are so many memories being put into the blanket as I'm knitting it. I love this, just as well later to think that, Elodie, as I was making this, you played with it, and you wrapped your bear in it, and you told your bear stories inside of this Cozy Memories blanket, and as squares were added, we talked about each square, and the story just becomes bigger and bigger surrounding this blanket, and I love it more and more every single time. And I love that so many of you are knitting up Cozy Memories blankets. And I see one person has started a hashtag Cozy Memories blanket on Instagram. Totally do that. I would love to see all of your Cozy Memories blankets. If you have an Instagram, hashtag it every time, Cozy Memories blanket. I love this. I love this project. If you haven't started one, start one. It is the most fun, most fulfilling, fun thing. We have a swap going on right now in the group. It's already been started, but there will be a round 2 of mini skein swaps. You can use them for your Cozy Memories blanket, for your Hexie Puffs, for any sort of mitered square blanket, or anything that you need small scraps. Go and read all about it on the podcast group in Ravelry at Homespun House. If you're not a member, join. I got a package this week for some of my Cozy Memories mini skeins. And this lovely package is from Rebecca, and she sent me 3 gorgeous, gorgeous skeins of yarn. So let me kind of go through this. See, I'm totally naughty. Last week I talked about how I wasn't going to read the stories until I knit with the yarn, but then I realized then the stories aren't really being shared with you. And this one yarn in particular, this green yarn, I really love the story of because it's very special. So, this green turquoise yarn is actually the most special to me, says Rebecca. 3.5 years ago, we decided on starting our family, but after 1.5 years, we still had no results. Testing showed what we had feared, family issues, and we started the process of IVF. At the same time, I started a hope blanket. I put it aside when our first cycle failed, pulled it back out when our second one was lucky enough to finish it. It'll be in the bedroom of our first baby in 2 months. Now, I originally started with purple and pink, both Koiku sock yarn, but wanted something more gender neutral. So I decided to dye a matching green. So how special is that? I think that's so cool. I think that's a really, really special story, and I am really honored to have this yarn that was part of that huge journey. That's so special. And then she sent me this one, really pretty one. She said this one is Regia. She knit this in my sock knit along, which is really sweet. Or no. Yeah, she knit this in my sock knit along, and she knit a pair for her husband, and then for her baby to be. And this is from one of her favorite indie dyers, Hello Yarn, which I've never used. And I guess she knows the woman of Hello Yarn, and she has quite a bit of Hello Yarn, so she decided to share some with me. I'm excited to see what I think about it. Feels nice. And then she sent everything on this cute, adorable stationery. I love seeing all of the fun stationery that you guys are sending. And that one came from Belgium. So those will soon be additions to my Cozy Memories blanket. I think I have, before I do these ones, because I'm trying to do them in order of when I receive them, but before I do these ones, I think I have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 skeins. 7 mini skeins, so 7 more squares, and then those ones will be added to my blanket. I have finished one thing this week. I finally picked up my Bird of Happiness again, and I knit one. Oh, I jam-packed this one with lavender, and I knit this one out of my Nature's Luxury. Oh goodness, I can't remember what this is called. Is that so bad? Bliss A. It's my Bliss A in the inky colorway. This is what I knit my my Raven's Nest shawl out of. And I get better at these as I go. Oh, it smells so wonderful. You guys, you have to knit some of these if you haven't, because they are the quickest knits. And they're so sweet. And I think it's perfect for a luxury yarn. I have this one hanging on my lamp that's on my side table. The side table next to the couch, it has a really pretty doily, and then it has just a little lamp with this hanging on it. And then I keep my usually 1 or 2 projects that I'm working on at the time in my project bag, so it looks really sweet. And these are so fun. Like I said, it's the Bird of Happiness pattern. Let's see who the pattern writer is. Pattern writer is... It doesn't say on the pattern. Well, I'm sorry about that. Anyway, it's a really fun pattern. Like I said, it's really quick. I knit mine with the Nature's Luxury Bliss A, which is a silk cashmere blend. Luxurious, amazing, one of the most amazing yarns I've ever knit with. These are also special because they are also using mini scraps of yarn, and I don't think I will ever use this yarn in my Cozy Memories blanket. I don't know why, but I don't think I will. Maybe I will. It seems kind of silly not to now that I say that out loud. But I love this yarn. I have quite a bit of it left. I have enough maybe to make, ooh, there's some lavender in there. I would say 6 more birds, maybe more. 8 would be awesome. But I'm going to use this just for making birds and maybe a Cozy Memory square. We will see. And I tie a little loop at the top for hanging. They're so sweet. I think they're really peaceful looking, and that's kind of what these birds represent to me, as peace. So I love these. I'm having fun making them. I wonder if my grandma has made any. I haven't talked to her in a while because she's on holiday with her daughter, which is really sweet. And I know she has the pattern, so I would love to know if she made some. I bet she hasn't, but hopefully next week we can do a podcast with her. That would be really nice. So that is my bird of happiness, stuffed with lavender and then some raw wool. It's obviously been washed, it's cleaned. And I have that in this hilarious project bag. Just a nice little teeny one. So we have a handcraft along this month, and you guys have made such fun things. We've had yarn spun. We had someone make a ball winder, which is really neat. We've had scrapbook pages. We've had cross stitch, embroidery, sewing, so many fun, different, neat things. I am working on my Tea Time cross stitch sampler put up by a Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery. And last time you saw this, last week, I just had the little, like, top part of the teacup done. That's it. And I have done a bit since then. I have this much finished, and I love it. I really, really love it. I could have finished this week, but I knew, of course, that I wanted to get some knitting done because there are a lot of fun projects that I've been working on. And so this is the progress that I got done. I'm sticking to the color theme, but I'm using different colors. None of the colors that I'm using is anything that was called for in the pattern. So I'm liking it. It's a lot of fun, like I said, and it's not what I thought, because last week when I spoke with you guys, I was a little bit worried that it wasn't meditative, it wasn't relaxing, it was just, okay, I have to do 13 stitches in a line, now 14 stitches in a line. But I had forgotten that once you're cross-stitching and you kind of get a little, an outline for the most part of what you're working on, you don't really have to count. You can just kind of look to where you need to go for the end of a row, or some things are just obvious. And so it has been a lot more relaxing and fun, and I think it was just the start of it that was putting me off, because I haven't cross-stitched in a really long time. I think it's been since last summer, maybe. But I'm really, really enjoying it. I'm really enjoying the cross stitch. For those of you who haven't done the Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery designs, do it. They're so much fun. And if you aren't into the Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery designs, look somewhere else. There are so many cross stitch designs on Etsy that I've purchased from, and it's just fun. I'm happy to see so many of you sharing your love for other handcrafts. And I'm getting inspired by what I'm getting inspired by right now is the quilting, because you guys have all seen that I have this Scrappy Trip-Along quilt that I want to finish. I want to finish this so bad. I think it's so beautiful. I think it's so neat. There are so many special fabrics in here that I just love, and I hate that it's just a quilt top at the moment. I know it will be turned into a quilt, but seeing all of you working on your quilts, one of you have finished a quilt, it's just so wonderful. It's so fun to see. I'm really enjoying it. I'm happy that we're doing it for 2 months. It gives all of us some time to work on everything, and it's just really enjoyable. I'm having a really good time crafting along with you and talking about other things other than knitting while still talking about knitting. But it's just so fun, so fun. We have a lot of fun prizes for the handcraft along. Gosh, this is going to take too long to go through, I think. So I'll just show you. We have 2 books. We have a sock book and then a Cottage Creations sweater book. And then this is my, what did I call this last week? My summer prize, I guess. My camping summer prize. We have these adorable bee earrings from the Handmade Hippo on Etsy. I love these. We have these star stitch markers from Such Wonderful Stuff on Etsy. She's my favorite person who makes stitch markers. We have this amazing Refresh sock soap from Tuft Woolens, and she has 10% off her shop right now if you use Molly10 as a coupon code. And then we have this amazing Smudge Yarns BFL nylon yarn in the Cinnabar colorway. It's 328 yards. Gorgeous, 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 gorgeous. The next winner of our handcraft along, I feel bad saying winner because we're all winners, right, you guys? So the next winner will receive the Winter Relaxation box, which also has the 2 same books. And then you will receive these adorable teacup earrings from the Handmade Hippo. These beautiful amber stitch markers from the Caffeinated Sheep on Etsy. The Vanilla Almond wool wash from Tuft Woolens, which I've raved about. I love this. It's my favorite wool wash ever. And then this beautiful hand-spun art yarn from Weird and Twisted on Etsy. And I also want to show you a yarn that I have from Weird and Twisted. This is a super, super special yarn because I adore Harry Potter. I'm pretty sure I've told you this, but I love Harry Potter. Not just the movies, I love the books. I know I've read 1 through 5, maybe 3 times, maybe 5 times each. I don't know. It's been a really long time since I've read everything. But I haven't read 6 and 7. I think I've just read each of them twice. But 1 through 5 I've read a lot, and I love the movies. I've seen them so many times. And she was so generous and wonderful that she sent me this Harry Potter skein of art yarn. It's called Diagon Alley. 2, and it's 240 meters or 262 yards. And you guys, you need to go and check out her Etsy store because these yarns are unlike anything. They're really wonderful. She has a 10% off coupon, homespun, in her shop. But check out this yarn. For those of you who love Harry Potter, this is so cool. So it has little charms on it. There's a dragon, an owl, a book, a broom, a key, the sorting hat, cauldron. You guys, this is too cool, isn't it? Spider web. And then there are more. But it's just like the winter yarn that I showed you. That as well, it doesn't have charms, but it has beads and sequins, little snowflake sequins. And they're sporadic enough that it's not over the top. It's really delicate looking. And while this obviously isn't so delicate because it has some bigger charms, it's so fantastic. And I want to knit something so special with this because this is just, it is a yarn unlike anything. I've never even seen yarn like this, especially Harry Potter. Something about that just makes me giggle and be so excited. I think it's so cool. You can write her and she can spin up yarn for you, and you can have it based upon anything. She can find charms for you. You could ask her for a Star Wars skein of yarn, or a a summertime skein of yarn, or anything you can think of. Reptile, Final Fantasy, Fox, anything. She's so creative. She has such an amazing eye for cool art yarns that, I don't know, I was so excited when I found her shop and when I saw this Harry Potter yarn because it's stunning. The colors are so nice with the gray, the really, really burnt orange, midnight blue, and then the mossy green. It's subtle without being too crazy. I'm really curious to see how it's going to knit up. I have no idea what I want to knit with this. I was kind of thinking a shawl because I want it to be something very, very special, and I have no idea what this sort of a yarn would be good for. I'm thinking a shawl. What do you think? What are your ideas? I would love to have some fantastic ideas for this special art yarn. And keep in mind that there are charms that will be hanging from it. I thought about just doing a super simple shawl. Nothing with any pattern. Just a V-shaped, easy enough you can write your own pattern shawl. That's kind of my idea. But if you see something else or you have an idea when I show you this that screams, she needs to use this pattern for that weird and twisted Diagon Alley yarn, let me know. I want to cast this on soon. It's too special, it's too fun not to see how it knits up. I'm sure you guys want to see how it knits up. Yes, I love it. I love this. 10% off in her shop, Homespun. It's weird and twisted, Etsy store. So cool. I also received a really, really nice picture. A really nice picture from Tuft Woolens, Martha, who makes the soaps, the Wool Wash, which I've been showing you. She also is a photographer, and she takes amazing pictures of woolly animals. And so she sent me this picture. How sweet is that, with the mama and her baby? And I will frame this and hang it on my the wall of my craft room. I love it so much. She sells these in her Etsy shop as well, and it ships fantastically because it didn't get bent and it's in perfect condition. I adore it. So I think that's just so sweet. I love it. So cute. I'm just getting all of these really fun sheepy things to frame and hang in my craft room. I have that hand painted card, and now I have this. So fun. So fun. Oh my goodness, you guys. I told you last episode that I would open every episode sharing with you some handcraft things that I have around my house. That completely blew my mind, and I have some things that I wanted to share with you. Just a couple of totally random things. Because Father's Day is coming up this weekend, I wanted to share with you, because last week I shared with you our Familia Klatt cross stitch that I made last year. Here is the first Father's Day gift that Robert received. So this is a super easy handcraft that Elodie did. I did it with her, of course, because she was only 7 months old at the time. But here it is. It's her feet and then her hand. And this has been hanging in our hall gallery since I made it. Well, since Elodie made it as well for Father's Day. So it says her name and then 2012. And easy enough. So just a fun little personalized handmade piece that sits in our house. And I love it. I love little things like this. I'm not one who thinks my house is too good to hang children's art. The second one is, oh goodness. I made this months before Elodie was born. It's a little cross-stitch sampler. This is the first cross-stitch that I had done in years. I had done some cross-stitching when I was a teenager, I think. Not even a lot. But right before Elodie was born, I decided that I wanted to make a little sampler for her. And I saw a picture of a sampler, but I didn't have a pattern. So I completely made this up. I didn't use a pattern at all for this, but it's based off of a picture. So here it says sweet baby, with some clothing, her name, and then I left her date unstitched until she was born. I then wrote that in after she was born. It's a little train, and here it says new baby. I would do it now completely differently, and I even thought now about making a completely new sampler for her, but that just seems silly. I made this one special for her, so it's all right. It's not my best work. I obviously now would prefer to use a pattern, but it's kind of fun to think that I just kind of free-made it, and yeah, it's sweet. It says her name and the day she was born, and I wish I had something like that. And the final thing, this is so random. While I am not this total like Americana person who loves having red, white, and blue in my house, who likes all of these American flags or anything patriotic, I don't mean that to sound terrible, because I think America is a wonderful country. But this is the only American thing that I have in our house. I would not decorate with anything Americana. That is 100% not my style, but my grandma made this. And it's just here, it says America, and then has just a little flag with a button embroidered, and then some rope. It looks like it's a coffee stain to make it look old, which is really neat feature, I think. And it's supposed to be made so that it looks like a child did it. This is just sort of popular embroidery. I really like it. I like that sort of look that it looks like an 8-year-old girl made it. And this hangs on Elodie's door because she's an American. She's half American, half German. So I think this is appropriate for hanging on her door. And because my grandma made it, of course, I want to hang it. I love everything my grandma makes. I don't think she could make anything and I wouldn't want it, I guess, for the most part. It has its limits. So those are just some fun things that I have around my house. I wanted to also mention, I've been thinking about Little House on the Prairie so much lately. I know that, oh goodness, I think it's called Little Skein. It's an Etsy store. I had heard Beezy Mama, oh my goodness, I feel terrible that I can't think of what the Pioneer Woman? She has a podcast. And she talks about Little House on the Prairie because she loves Little House on the Prairie. And I know Little Skein, I think is what it's called. They're doing this stitch marker club, kind of. And she was talking about the stitch marker club, and I thought, I love Laura Ingalls Wilder. My mom loved Laura Ingalls Wilder when she was a child. And I really want to start reading the books again because when I was little, when my mom was little, she received, I don't know if it was for her birthday or maybe just for a summer gift or Christmas, she received the whole box set of Laura Ingalls Wilder, her box set of books, Little House in the Big Woods, Farmer Boy, Little House on the Prairie, so on and so forth. And she had this, I remember when I was little, I just thought it looked so cool. It was on my shelf next to my bed, and it was this really old set of books. And like I said, it was my mom's when she was little, and I remember when I was little, my mom told me that there was this one summer, it was either a summer or a week that she was sick from school, I'm pretty sure it was a summer, that she read through this whole series. And she completely fell in love with Laura Ingalls Wilder and her life on the Pioneer and all of her books. So my mom read them to us, and we read them in school, and I read them on my own when I was younger, and I as well fell in love with them, and I really loved them. And because my mom, she really, really was into Laura Ingalls Wilder. I don't mean she disliked the books. We often based our holidays around going to different houses of hers on the country. I'm pretty sure that we've been to every single one of them in America. And it was so much fun when we were little, traveling to all of these houses and seeing them, and it was just so much fun. I would love to be able, I'm excited to share these books with Elodie when she gets older, but the point of me talking about this is I've been reading the books now. In the past week, I've read Little House in the Big Woods and Little House on the Prairie. I should have read Farmer Boy in between, but I wasn't thinking of the order at the time. And Farmer Boy is a book you can kind of just read anywhere because it's about her husband's childhood. Anyway, it's such a fun, easy read. There are audiobooks that you can listen to. I've been listening to the audiobooks in between reading, and it's so fun to knit and listen to the audiobooks as well when I don't just want to sit down and read. And now I'm starting Farmer Boy, and I just love it, you guys. I love it. For those of you who are looking just for some fun, summertime, little girl, imaginative reading, just to bring you back to your childhood. I don't care if you're as young as I am, older than I am. Read them. They're so fun. It's just so nice, the simple life that they had. And Dan actually talked about this. He's from the Bakery Bears on one of the, I'm pretty sure it was the last podcast, about how so many people are always on their phones and just always looking down at their phones. He said, you have to stop doing less of this and start doing more of this. he's talking about knitting, and I had to laugh when he did that because it's so true. We're such a technology-based society, and I think it's so sad. It's something that really, really bothers me, that so many people are so into staring at their phones all the time, and their iPads or their tablets or computers, and that they're not taking time to work with their hands and to make things with their hands and to converse with people and have conversations with people about real life things. I think this is so important, and it's something that is being so lost. It is so lost in so many lives, and it's ruining relationships, and it's ruining friendships, and it's ruining real life moments. And when I'm reading Little House on the Prairie, it makes me think about a simpler life. And I'm not a person who is always on my phone and who is on a tablet or who is always on the computer. Because I think that these real life moments are so important, and they need to really be treasured. When we're older, we will never ever look back at our lives and wish that we had spent more time looking on Instagram, or more time reading our emails, or even writing people emails, or reading about stuff. I don't know how to explain it, but staring at these screens and being these zombies, we will never wish that we had spent more time doing those things, or we will never look back and think about fond memories of staring at our telephones or computers. It will always be those moments that we've shared with people, and in making things, and all of these real life moments. I don't mean to go off on a tangent, but it's something that I think about very often. When I'm going on the tram, that's all I see is people just sitting down and staring at their phones. Even if they're coming in as a couple or coming in as a group of friends, people are not conversing and not looking up and looking out at the sky, at the world around us, at beautiful leaves and flowers and the sun. It's just, I don't know, I think it's just sad. It is just sad. And that's why I choose not to spend all of my time doing this, a lot of my time doing this. I'm not saying that I'm better than anyone because I don't stare at my phone all the time. It's just, I guess I have different priorities. And I hope that I can inspire some of you to look up and look out at the world around you, and converse with people, and listen to music, and get lost in music, and yeah, just soak up what's around you rather than what's inside of these little electronic devices. This has nothing to do with knitting, but it kind of does, because it has to do with making things and being with people, I guess. I don't know how to explain it really any better, but I just think those things are so important, and I wanted to just now add it. It was something that just came to my mind, and I think it's an important thing to think about. So with that said, I hope you all have a wonderful week ahead. I hope that you enjoy making things with your hands and conversing with others and spending time outside. And I will see you all next week with hopefully some wonderful knitting and handcrafting, and I'm looking forward to it. So